Hello everyone. Today we've got a nice little workflow that's a optical character recognition workflow that scans your receipts and then puts it into a Baserow database. I just want to thank Chris for watching, and I hope you found my videos informative and useful for your business and any personal projects. Right, let's get started. So what we have here is we have a form submission on n8n. We also can have a webhook as well, and there can also be a webhook here as well. So webhook. So we can also put respond to webhook here as well. So if you wanted to implement this little workflow in some kind of application or some other type of process, you can get it can listen here for some kind of trigger, and then like the sending of a photograph through a website, and then it can respond there to say it's done, it's put in the database. For now we're going to be testing it through the form submission. So what we've got is we've got the form submission here. We've got this self-hosted community node called Tesseract, which does all the optical character recognition all inside n8n. No data goes anywhere else. Nothing's going to OpenAI. Then we've got the HTTP request, which is needed for uploading the photograph onto your Baserow database and creating the row in Baserow. Then just here you've got analyzing of the image data to pull out all of the information. Then just here we've got where it's updating the Baserow database with all the individual pieces of information, and then the webhook can then send a response. So let's test out the workflow. So here, this is the form submission here. I've set up very simply, but you could add more things in if you wanted to. So I've just got the type of receipt that we've got here, and we've got a photograph of a file just here. So let's grab a receipt. Okay. Let's test the workflow again. So we went to test the workflow. It's not working. That's because I added the respond to webhook node on here. So when you're in production, you wouldn't have the form submission there. So at the moment, for now, we're going to deactivate the respond to webhook. Now, let's try again. Okay. So it doesn't like having that node there at all. So let's delete that node. We don't need that there. Right, now it's going to bring up the form. So we've got fuel receipt just here. Open up this receipt here, submit. So we submitted the receipt. It's now going through the workflow. So it's gone through Tesseract, which is using optical character recognition on the receipt to grab all the information. Then it's going to the HTTP request, which uploads the picture to Baserow. And then this node here is the Baserow node to create the new row. Now it's going through the LLM. We're using a local model, Llama 3.2, which is only a 3 billion parameter model. So a nice little small model, can run on quite a small server. Then we've got the structured output, and then it's gone into Baserow as well. That's it. Now what it's done is it's grabbed the line from here and it's updated it there. So let's go and have a look at each of the nodes. So here's Tesseract. So what it'll do is it will take the file that you've submitted. You could also put a Telegram node there if you wanted, or link it to a larger agent. So then we've got the text just here. That's where it's extracted from the receipt. There's a few different things that you can do in here. So you can extract text, or you can extract boxes, and then in the boxes you can classify how you'd like it to extract it. So you could classify it to just break it up into lines, break up into words, characters, paragraphs. But for simplicity, I've just got to extract the text and then I get the LLM to do the rest. There's also a few other options just here for customizing the node more. This is a community node, the Tesseract node. So, and I'll show you that at the end. Now we've got the HTTP request. So I've got separate auth details just here for Baserow that I've set up. And then this is to upload the photograph to Baserow. Here, once it's uploaded, it gives you a few different options. You've got small little thumbnails here, or you've got the main file that you can put straight into the database. So it's now sitting in the Baserow instance, ready for it to be told what to do with the photograph. So now, this is the main Baserow node. So what you're doing is you're then telling it what database you want that photograph to be put into, and they need to be in a row. So the HTTP request needs to be just after where the data file is. If you're uploading a data file onto Baserow, then that HTTP request needs a Baserow node after that to then tell Baserow what to do with that file that you've just uploaded there. So now what we've got is it's going into the fuel receipt spreadsheet, and I'm putting the date and time because that's what is the main field that gets searched for, and then the photograph is being uploaded into the image column. So just here. So there's the image column there, there's the date and time. And then we've got the LLM. So we've got a prompt for the LLM just here. The LLM is given the text that's needed to be classified, and then it breaks it down into the individual parts. And you've got the text just there as well. So it's all classified here, and the structured output part of the node takes this information. So if we look here, we just have all this text that came from Tesseract, and that structured output then structures it into the schema using JSON. So you've got this JSON here that then gives an example for how the LLM needs to structure it. Then what it'll do is, if you adjust this and feed in a few different types of receipt or invoice that you want it to structure, then give those examples to another LLM and ask them to make a structure that works for all of those different types of receipt. Then what it will do is it will create this. So then when you get the structure, you can then easily just pick out the individual line items that you would like to put into the database and put here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of information that you could be putting into the database. And then what it'll do is it then puts into the database, and this is where you then put a return webhook if you're putting it in some kind of website or some kind of application. So here's the Baserow database. Here's an example of one of the receipts. So we've got the date and time just here. There's a receipt that was uploaded. Then you've got the receipt date and time that was grabbed off of the receipt itself. You got the type of fuel, which is unleaded in this case, the quantity, the price per litre, the cost of the fuel itself, the VAT that was on that fuel, and the percentage of the VAT. As you can see here on Tesseract, because I changed these items, it's now putting the little exclamation mark because something's changed. So if you run the workflow, it will then may change some of the data. The great thing about this workflow, unlike a lot of the OCR that you see, is with this optical character recognition, none of the data can leave your server. Everything is kept within whatever you're running. So the LLM is completely local, and all the image analyzation is completely local. So you can have complete privacy and control over all your data. Unlike if you're using some kind of other app which will send data to maybe OpenAI. If you would like help with integrating any of these type of workflows into your business, your website or app, then you can reach out to on my website. If you'd like to donate to the channel, then there's links in the description to donate, and you can also go in the link in the description and buy this workflow to have a play around with and integrate into anything that you're building. Thank you for watching and enjoy automating.